So in other news, the city of Cape Town has defended its demolition of Green Point tent camp in court. The city demolished a tent camp near the Green Point Tennis Club, leaving more than 20 people without shelter. Ndifuna Ukwazi took the matter to court, arguing that the city had, in the middle of a pandemic, used a bylaw to circumvent constitutional rights. The matter was heard in the Western Cape High Court on Friday. Judgment was reserved. Ndifuna Ukwazi says city bylaws cannot be allowed to trump constitutional rights. We're joined now by Jonty Cogger, who is the attorney for Ndifuna Ukwazi, and Elecia Rix is formerly on the street, speaking in her personal capacity, independent capacity, as someone who knows about being homeless. Very good evening to you both, and thank you so much for speaking to us. Let me just start first with you, Jonty, and I hope I'm pronouncing your surname correctly. So the point of the lawsuit, is it to direct the city, firstly, to return the confiscated belongings and put up the tent again?
Yes, good evening to your listeners. The point of the application is to restore the status quo, which means, as you mentioned, return the tents, but also allow for our clients to re-erect their homes. And that's part of the issue, is what we say. The city of Cape Town came 2 weeks ago and removed and confiscated our clients' home, which in our law, they ought to have had a court order to do so. So what has happened is an illegal eviction has happened, and there has to be full restitution. But the city says that homeless people cannot have homes. This is despite the fact that this particular community living at Green Point Tennis Club has resided there for at least the last year. So their view is quite simply untenable, that the law enforcement can come with impunity and deprive people of their homes.
So given what you say, that this has been a situation for more than a year, when the city decided to apply these bylaws, was it, do you believe, in direct contravention of the constitutional rights and not in line with the Prevention of Illegal Eviction Forum, as well as the Unlawful Occupation of Land Act?
Yes, that's exactly the point. I mean, you also have to look at the reason why we have eviction law in this country. I mean, it comes from our past, with the apartheid government. You didn't have constraints and controls, and the law that constrained the way that they deprive people, enforced removals and land dispossession. And so that's exactly the point that we're trying to say. That our clients are trying to say is that due process ought to have been followed. You can't come with impunity and just deprive people of their homes without following the law.
Elecia, this must be very painful for you to hear, and even perhaps when you think back to your own case as a homeless person, to be told that you can't have a home must even seem ridiculous, when it's every person's right, basic human right, to have that.
Yes, it does break my heart to hear that they are doing that with the people. And yes, it is everybody's basic right to have a home. But from my own experience, living on the street is difficult on its own.
Tell us about that, because the city, for instance, is saying that the occupants knew that it was unlawful. Do you really have a choice? I mean, if you had a choice as to where you lay your head at the end of the night, surely you would, and it would be a safe space.
Actually, you don't have a choice. As I said, in my own experience, I was on the street with my daughter, and I had to just find a space where I would be safe and would not be harmed, or anybody would see me, so that we could have just spent the night safely in a certain place.
How do you go about finding what you would say is conducive under the circumstances that you've just described, to find a place to sleep? And do you ensure that you are amongst a group of people? So just tell us a little bit more about what faces homeless people every day.
Well, most people that are homeless, the struggles they face is that they get ashamed, people look down on them, and you feel that disconnect from communities and people around you. So yes, it's would be to hurdle with other people that are also on the street, form your own kind of community.
So, Jonty, I'm wondering here, the city is saying it applied the bylaw in the proper way and that the bylaw is not applicable in this case. But the Constitution is not devoid of a Bill of Rights. So when drafting bylaws, surely this takes into account all of these factors.
I mean, you would think so, but this Ndifuna Ukwazi is also representing another group of people living on the streets where we're challenging the constitutionality of these bylaws, because in essence what these bylaws do is criminalize the very existence of someone who lives on the streets. So if you're talking about, having shame and living in the streets, the perception is that homeless people or people that live on the streets are outcasts, they're deviants, they do not deserve to have a home, they do not deserve to have personal belongings. And this is fundamentally dehumanizing. And so what we're saying in that case is that you can never have a bylaw that upholds the Bill of Rights if it, in essence, criminalizes someone's being. And that is fundamentally shameful. And we hope that the courts will invalidate those laws because they are inhumane.
Elecia, what would you say to lawmakers as somebody who is now no longer homeless? How do you bridge that gap? What would you say to the lawmakers to fix?
Well, I don't really have a solution how to fix it. But what I can say is I found this place called U-Turn where I'm a receptionist at now. And they have a 2-year program that I joined. And this 2-year program gave me a lot of skills. It gave me a new family. So there is hope for those people out there that are homeless. And if there's more awareness about U-Turn and the work we do, I think that we would be able to do something.
Right. Thank you so much for speaking to us. Elecia Rix is formerly on the streets, and Jonty Cogger is attorney for Ndifuna Ukwazi, suggesting there, Elecia, that there needs to be more programs, and Jonty saying that the bylaws have to speak to the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. We're going to take a quick break.